Today we are making a video on Deepin Linux 20.9. Here is the boot menu of Deepin Linux 20.9. Deepin Linux never provides the live desktop mode or a live booting ISO file. So we need to install it compulsory whether you like it or not. So here is the installation process. This is the boot menu, and let's click on install Deepin 20.9 with a kernel. And I forgot to mention that I'm running it on a VMware, which is a virtualization with 80 GB of hard disk, 4 GB of RAM and 2 processors. So again, it's going to take a lot of time. Usually the Deepin Linux takes a maximum of a minute or a minute and a half, or maybe less, like 30 to 40 seconds. It's never the 30 to 40 seconds, but usually Linux distros takes like 30 to 40 seconds or maximum of 1 minute. But Deepin Linux takes a lot of time, no problem. Let's wait and try to install. Again, I don't like this Deepin Linux distro. That's my personal opinion. Just for the content, just for the viewers, I'm going to make this content. Whether I like it or not, I'm just going to make the content just for them. So again, we need to wait for a few more seconds to boot up. So it usually takes time. So let's wait. This is the latest version, which is Deepin Linux 20.9. They released like a few hours ago. So here is our content, and here is a Deepin logo. If you ask me if you really like this Linux distro, or if you recommend this Linux distro, then my answer is always no, because I never liked this Linux distro. I never liked this Linux distro. That's my personal opinion. I have no hate. If you like this, or if you love it, you love this Linux distro, I have no problem. You can love it or install it if you want. I'm not going to recommend for any people. For my favorite people, I'm not going to recommend this, because there are a lot of other Linux distros available which are lightweight. If you ask what you recommend, then I'm going to recommend like a Lubuntu, Zorin OS, like a Ubuntu. There are some lightweight Linux distros which are pretty good, and Linux Mint, that's also good, and Manjaro, that's also good. Some Arch based Linux, some lightweight Linux distros. If you want to almost feather lightweight, there's a tiny, I think tiny Linux distro, that's also a good option. Again, it's almost a minute, I guess, or more than a minute, and we are just here at mouse pointer. I'm not going to edit this video. You will need to know how much time it takes. So here is the Deepin language selection. As usual, I'm just choosing English. So you can choose other languages. There are plenty languages available. Not plenty, just a few options. No problem. Let's. We need to agree this to in order to click on next. As you can see here, I don't know what are the privacy, all these things. So I'm using a VMware, so I'm going to delete it as soon as the video is over. I'm not going to use it because you already know I hate this Linux distro. Just for you guys, I'm making a content, because I promised that I will make a content as soon as any Linux distros are released or available. So here is 80 GB. You need to have almost 80 GB to install this thing. That's also pretty weird from this Linux distro. So 80 GB is here. These are the installation things. If you want, you can encrypt, you can resize root partition. So let's try to choose this thing and click on next, and these are all things happens after clicking on install. It's going to take a lot of time to install. So if you choose this create a backup for system, it's going to take another like a few more minutes. So I'm just going to click on continue, and as you can see, it's 0%. It's going to take a maximum of I made a lot of videos on the Deepin Linux in the previous time. So it's almost like it takes a maximum of 20 minutes or more than 20 minutes sometimes. So you need to remember this thing. If you want to have a coffee, you can easily have a coffee in this time. So I'm just going to stop talking here, and I will come back after the installation process. And I'm going to speed it up the process because it's going to take a lot of time. We don't want to sit here and just see the installation process going slowly. So I will stop talking here and come back again after the installation. And here is our installation complete. Almost took like 10 minutes. That's surprising. So let's reboot now. It usually takes like 20 minutes, but we don't know what was happening, but it almost completed in 10 minutes. So let's wait for the boot up. And here we should wait like a few more seconds or a few more minutes to completely load up the desktop layout. And the desktop environment is the Deepin also. It's also the Deepin. It's from the Deepin Desktop or Deepin Linux. And here is our logo. So again, remember, I'm running it on a virtual machine, which is a VMware. I'm never installed it on my main PC or on my work PC, because most of my viewers said that it's not a good idea to install it on a hard disk or your own PC or a work PC. They had almost given me comments like we always recommend others that always I'm here to mention, or I'm here to say that they don't want to use that Linux distro again because they have a lot of issues. Sorry, I was stuttering there. So here is our Deepin select language. You need to select your language again. I don't know why, and we should again click on the agreement here. We already agreed that, but after the installation we need to click on again. I don't know what this weird thing happens with the Deepin always. We need to always agree everything in order to use this Linux distro. That's the reason I always hate this Linux distro, and there are a lot of other things too. So here I'm choosing an English United States, which is also default here. As you can see, there are a lot of languages. You can choose the other languages here. Most of my viewers always had a complaint with the Linux distros. If you think I'm lying, you can go through all these comments which I made on a Deepin Linux. You will be having an idea of what Deepin Linux will always show you. So you will be having an idea of how much worse this Linux distro is. I'm choosing Los Angeles. There are plenty of people who hate this Linux distro in my channel, so I am with them. I have no problem with that. If you like it, I don't have any problem with you. If you have a good stable option, or if it worked for you, so that's good. That's all I want. If any Linux distro I made and it works for you, that's a good thing for me. If it doesn't work for you, so that's a sad thing for me. So I'm going to just create my account here. You don't need to provide your actual name like this. Don't even provide for this Linux distro. If you are trying to give the actual name, never give this real name or an actual name. Here is the password. I'm just going to use simple password because I'm going to delete this Linux distro as soon as the content is made. So these are the account creating options or credentials. Click on next. It's going to tuning your system. Even after tuning the system, it's going to be worse. I already made a lot of videos, so I know there's nothing tuning here, just a fancy name like a tuning your car like that they say, but it's nothing, just some BS. That's it. If you know what I'm saying, just watch my previous videos or just try to install it on your own. But always remember, never use this Linux distro on your main PC or a work PC. If you want to use this Linux distro, always try it on a virtual machine, which is a VMware or a virtual box. Never try to install it on your main PC. Only if you are satisfied, only if you are know everything about this Linux distro, then go to the installation. I have no problem. If you don't know anything about this Linux distro, always try to install it on a VMware or a virtual box. It's always a good option. Again, you should be waiting for a lot of seconds or a lot of minutes here, because it always says tuning system. I don't know what it does, and you will be having a laggy Linux distro. However, it's going to be so laggy. If you don't know what I'm saying, you will be seeing in a few seconds or a few minutes. Just wait for that. I'll show you how much good Linux distro is this, and you will be getting an info how bad this Linux distro is. Just don't always go with the fancy thing. Never the fancy things are good. There's nothing like that. Fancy things will be always good. There's no such thing like that. So it took almost a few minutes here. So here is our login screen. This is a keyboard and the wired connection, and this is reboot. Let's type in the password. I choose the simple password, so let's type in 12345 and click on enter. It's going to take again few more seconds to complete all these things. I'm just going to go with the normal mode. If you want, you can read this thing. I don't know, at least this version is fixed with that lagginess as we faced in the previous versions. So let's first change the display resolution. I'm using a VMware, so it's automatically changed my resolution as every Linux distro. Here is the video of the Linux distro. We don't need it. So let's open and check and there will be a bit of lag always, so bear with it. So let's open the first system monitor and see the resources. And memory is 1.1 GB, but it acts like it's consuming 3-4 GB. You will be having an idea now after a few seconds. And here is the CPU. As you can see, this is the info, and we have a high peak. It's common because it will be having a high peak in the beginning of the video, beginning of the system monitor when we launch it. So it's common in every Linux distro, and if it continues with a high peak, then that's a problem. If it continues with a low peak, then low peak or a low graph here, that's good. So let's open the RAM and see how much RAM is consuming. It's almost 1.2 GB, which is common. So common for every Linux distro. If it's a lightweight, it's going to consume like a 500 MB to 600 MB. So it's in the beginning it's a 1.2 GB. I didn't open any app. After the opening all the apps and running through all these things, I will again open the system monitor and you will be having an idea of how much resources are consumed. Just remember this thing. If you can't remember, just put the video side by side and you will be getting the resources, how much resources are consumed. So the version is here of the system monitor. Let's check the services running right now. Here are the services running right now. So these are the processes. This is the network disk. It's not a network, it's a disk. And this is the network. You don't need to worry about the network because it's different for everyone. The main thing you need to remember is the memory and the CPU. As you can see, our CPU is a bit of weird, sometimes 20%, but still good. Okay, let's close this thing and let's type in the terminal. Let's open the terminal and type in few commands to grab the distro info. Here is the terminal. The version is here. Let's type in commands like inxi-sv8 because it's never available. Command not found, no problem. Even it's neofetch is available. Even a small Linux distro provides a neofetch, but it doesn't provide. Let's type in uname-a I forgot to give a space, so I'm going to give a space and click. The kernel is 5.15.77, which is old version. So let's type in again for the kernel. Here is the kernel. Let's type in cat:/etc. Ignore my keyboard sound and mouse sound because my mic pickups everything. So Deepin Linux 20.9. Ignore the sounds of the keyboard and mouse once again. So let's type in htop if it's available. Htop is also not available. They just give you the fancy option. That's it. They grab people attention just by doing fancy things. You already know a lot of things from the Chinese Linux distros, or the Chinese things always makes the fancy things to grab the people's attention. I'm not a racist, I'm not anything like that. That's a common thing, you already know what I'm saying. So here is the version of a calendar. I don't hate China or I don't hate any people, so just the common thing that's available, because Cutefish OS is also from China. You know how the Linux desktop environment is of Cutefish OS. They just always make fancy things to grab people's attention. If you want to use the fancy thing, there is lot of Linux distros available, like a Zorin OS. That's a pretty much nice Linux distro. Zorin OS or Linux Mint, Arch Linux, you can do on your own. There are a lot of options. Here are the search option. As you can see, this is a finder. Internet connection, volume rockers or a volume thing, and disks, keyboard. These are commonly available in every Linux distro. So let's see what are the apps which comes pre-installed. These are again the same apps which are available, nothing more, just a default Deepin Desktop Environment apps. So let me open the browser and show you how to download the Linux distro, or I'm going to show their official website. Again, this is a browser from them, from Deepin Linux. Let's check the version, which is a 6.1.0. It's a Chromium based, as you can see. Let's type in. Here is a Deepin Linux website. This is the website URL, or you just need to type in Deepin Linux in the search bar or a search engine. It will open this website. The first link will be the website. If you want the version 23 alpha version, alpha 1 or alpha 2, I already made that too. So go check that out too in my channel if you want. I made a plenty of Deepin Linux distros there. Deepin Linux distro content there. If you want, you can visit that. So here are some info. That's alpha version 2. We don't need that. Let's change to English. And here is the Deepin 20.9. If you want what is changed here, you will be having an idea of what is changed here. Qt version is changed, some options. It will always, the Deepin Linux or Deepin website will always give you a bunch of options, like they fixed everything, and you will be always having an issue, no doubt. If you don't know what I'm saying, just ask the people who use the Deepin Linux. They will give every information there. Here is the downloads. If you want to download, you can download here. And again, I'm trying to warn you, if you want to use this Linux distro, always use it on a virtual machine. Only if you are ready to use it on your main PC or work PC. Only if you are satisfied, then go with the installation to your main PC or work PC. If you don't know what it is going on, so it's better to always use it on a virtual machine. I tried to download it, but it opened something. Here are the downloads. You can choose any mirror, whether it's a Google Drive or anything. I'm using a VPN, so it's slow. And even if you not use a VPN, the server is always slow. I choose to download from this, but it was slow. My internet speed is like 10 Mbps, but it was downloading like a 900 KB like that. It's always better to go with the Google Drive. I tried to download it from the Google Drive. It was pretty much quick. It gave the top speed, because you know Google Drive's speed. So these are the info. If you want to read it, you can read it. I showed the download also. So let's close this thing. We don't need anything like that. So let's open the few of the apps and check the version, like a file manager. As you can see, there is always be some fancy thing to grab attention. So never go with the fancy things. Always choose the stable versions of the other Linux distro, whether it's MX Linux or Linux Mint, whatever it is. Always go with the stable ISO or the stable version. There are plenty of Linux distros, Zarin OS for example, or the Linux Mint. I'll give you a lot of options. If you can't find the, or if you don't know what are the options, you just need to type in Linux distros in my channel, and you will be finding like almost 1.5k videos, almost 1.6 now. I made 1600 videos. So here is an app store. About, and there is a lag always. We need to avoid that and try to see. I don't know, I always have a problem with this app store. That's always weird, but it's now good. Let's see. It takes a lot of time to load up because it's a bit laggy here. It's always a laggy. And try to open the GIMP. It's stuck here. Let's try to open it again. And here are the options. If you want, you can install it. So let's close this thing and check the other options. We saw the browser, file manager. Let's open the album, a music player, calendar, and check the version soon. I think we saw the calendar option also. This is the version. Let's close the version. And this is the music version. Confirm. We don't want this. Let's exit this thing. Let's check the version of photos. This is the version. And here are all the pre-installed apps, just a few apps. Let's try to open some of the apps and end this video because I'm done with this Linux distro. I hate to even make this video on this Linux distro. Sorry for making boring content if it's boring for you, because I hate this Linux distro. Just for sake of the viewers, that I promised that I will make a content on every Linux distro. So I am making this Linux distro. Usually I don't even want to use this Linux distro or make a content on it. Just for you guys I'm making content. So this is the LibreOffice version. I already made a video on a Tuxedo OS today. If you want to watch that content, you can go watch that after watching this video. There are a lot of complaints in this video because that's my personal opinion. I hate it a lot. So that's my complaint. Just try to ignore all this thing because I hate pretty much a lot of this Linux distro. I'm just going to open every app and check the version. This is some email clients. Even it's Gmail or Yahoo Mail, it's better to not use these things because we don't know what happens if you use your passwords or a username. We don't have any clue of what this Linux distro is capable of this thing. I don't know whether they keep your logs and password, all these things like that. We don't have any info about this Linux distro. So if you like this Linux distro, I have no problem with that. You can like it. It's my personal opinion that I hate this Linux distro. It's clearly up to me. If you love it, if you really trust it, go with it. It's not my problem. It's clearly up to you. If people are new or if you people are confused whether to go with this Linux distro or not, for them I'm going to say it's always no from me. So if you want, you can go with on your personal risk. I'm not going to say you need to just go with this Linux distro. If you want other Linux distro alternative for this Linux distro, there are a lot of Linux distros. You can go with it. If you can't find it, you can find it on my Linux channel. So here are I think I almost opened every app, I guess, for the versions. So let me check the system monitor and see how much resources are consumed. Before it was like I think 1.3 GB. Now it's almost 1.6 GB. There was some lag in here and there, but we need to ignore it, because it was usually I used a lot of times. I already made a lot of content on this Linux distro. I didn't use this Linux distro on normal time. I just make a content and throw it off in the recycle bin. I delete the VMware and use it. I just make a content on this Linux distro and delete it, because I don't want to bear with this Linux distro. So if some people ask, do you use this Linux distro after the making content? So the answer is no. As soon as the content is available, I'm just going to delete the VMware and throw it off in the recycle bin. So here are some memory and the CPU. If you want to compare it from the beginning of the video and ending of the video, you will be having an idea that how much resources are consumed. So I think that's it for the video. Let's end this video and end this problem. It's a touch of me for using this Linux distro. Let's check the desktop wallpapers and end this video. So there are some, always try to use your brain, and just you will be having an idea that always the Deepin Linux try to grab the attention by providing the fancy wallpaper. As you can see, the best Linux distro never used to grab the attention, but this Linux distro always try to use the attention grabbing. So always choose this, use the, as you can see, there are always best wallpapers. As you can see, these, there are best wallpapers, but it's not good for on my screen. I don't know, if you use it on your own, you will be having an idea. It's always like a copy of a Mac OS, but I know that none of the Chinese Linux distro or this Deepin Linux Desktop Environment will be an alternative for Mac OS. It's never going to happen, because Mac OS is always a good operating system. We already know, and we use a lot of times that Mac OS. So again, let's end this video, and let me try to show you my channel, because if you want to choose the other Linux distro or other alternative for the Linux distro, I'm going to show that. People who already subscribed, no need to worry. People who want to watch my content without subscribing, you can do that by just typing this URL, like youtube.com/9to5linux. If you're using a web browser, just use this URL. If you're using a YouTube app, just type in 9to5linux. Whether you use a YouTube app in your mobile TV or a tab, just type 9to5linux. Whether you use a browser in your mobile TV or a tab, just type in the complete URL. I'm using a web browser, so I will put the full URL. Click enter. And I already said if you want the alternative of the Deepin Linux, just type in here Linux distro, and you will be having a plenty of other videos of every type of Linux distro. You will be finding like almost 1.6k videos, because I made that many videos. So if you want to search the specific term, you can search it here. If you are here only for the Linux content, just go to the playlist, and you can see there is a Linux playlist here. Go under view full playlist, click on view full playlist, and you will be having almost like 1.6k videos, almost 1600 videos. If you want to play all or shuffle, do anything you want. I almost cover like 70 to 80% of the Linux distros in this world available, whether it is a discontinued version or a beta version, stable version, alpha version, whatever it is, I made a content on it. So you don't need to wait it. If you want to latest news, I will be giving a latest content here. So I already mentioned that I make 2 videos daily. So I mentioned here also that I already made a Tuxedo OS Linux distro today. If you want, you can watch that content. The content will be available here. If you are subscribed, it will be available in your subscription box. If you are not, you should visit at this timings, or before the timings, the videos will be available, and it will be in a premiere mode. So you will be having an idea of what content will be available that day. If you go to the community page, You will be getting of latest release info or the latest package info here, so keep an eye on it. So if you want to subscribe, you can subscribe. If you don't want, it's clearly up to you. I'm not going to force you. It's your opinion. I respect your opinion. So let's close this thing and end the video. Again, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the thumbs up button. It helps make a good content for you. Other than that, I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Peace out. Sorry because of a lot of complaining in this video, because I hate this Linux distro. Again, I already said that's my opinion. If you love it, I don't have any problem. You can love it. It's my opinion that I hate it. So again, thanks for watching. Let's end this video.